Hi, this is Belinda Calibriali and this is Talking High Performance with Belle. So I'm making this podcast for people who want to live their best life, people who know that there's more in them, but they just don't know how to get it. So there's a gap, something's missing, I'm making it for them. Welcome to today's episode of Talking High Performance with Belle. As you know, this month is all about leadership. And so I'm excited to talk to you today about what I call the 4 C's of successful leadership. So being a leader means leading by example. And now more than ever, in this environment that we're in, I think it's so important to exhibit these leadership skills as they're going to help to contribute to your success. You know, being a leader means having a vision and being the person that others want to follow. And so it's your job to get them to follow you, to dangle the carrot, to go, this is where we want to go, and this is how we're going to get there. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. And when we talk about leadership, it's all about gathering the troops. You know, it's all about going, this is the journey that we want to go on, and relating it to them in a way where they're invested and, you know, in a way that they go, yeah, like, let's get pumped up and let's follow this stream. And with close to 20 years myself in leading teams and individuals and watching them grow and supporting their journey, whatever that may look like for them, the more experienced I got with this, the more I began to delve into my own personal development journey. And I realized that for myself, the way that I was going to reach that next level of leadership for me was to show up softer and was to show up more vulnerable. So I used to wear, you know, toughness and not showing my cards as a badge of honor. And for me, you know, becoming a more congruent, a more authentic leader meant showing up softer and showing up really from a place of care. And even though I cared, I didn't always show it in the best way in the past. So that was really, really important to me. And that was something that, you know, came up through my coaching experience quite a lot, in patterns that I would play out. And also it's something that, you know, I'm really conscious of before I go onto a coaching call. Like, how do I show up as soft as I can? You know, when I'm talking to a friend who's in trouble, how do I show up as soft as I can? And so if there's one thing that you take away from today's podcast, I think it's showing up softly, but also in a strong and more congruent way, how that's really important when it comes to leadership. So I want to go through with you what I believe to be the 4 C's of successful leadership. And the first one is competence. So competence for both yourself and for your team. And when we talk about high performance leadership, when we're talking about getting to that stage where you feel really confident in your abilities and others feel really confident in their abilities, it's really important to be able to master the skills to get your team functioning at their best. And your job as a leader, as a competent leader, is to go, okay, this is where there's gaps in my team, and it's my job to work out how to piece those pieces of the puzzle together. You know, sometimes it's training staff, other times it's letting staff go. You know, not everyone is designed to do the role, and getting your team to believe in their own ability to figure it out, in their own ability to bring their own piece to the puzzle is really, really important. It also means for yourself, you know, if you're lacking in a certain area, you need to develop the skills to grow. So your team can't be the best version of themselves and be the most competent version of themselves if you're not leading by example. Now, doesn't mean that you need to do every single role and you need to know how to do every role. No. In my optical businesses, I didn't know how to do quite a lot of the roles, but we had people in place that could do them and that could do them really well. And another thing here when we talk about competence is every person in the team doesn't need to know how to do every role. You know, some people are better at selling, some people are better at the technical part. And so it's finding, as I said, those pieces of the puzzle and putting them together to build a really, really competent team. That's the first word. The second C is congruence. You know, there is nothing worse than a leader who does not lead by example. And a major difference with a high-performing leader is that they have clarity around who they want to be, and that's congruent to their values. Doesn't mean they're perfect all the time, absolutely not, but they pride themselves on trying to do the best they can, and they pride themselves in showing up authentically, and they pride themselves in aligning their visions with values that they hold really important. You know, and it's about having that ability to reflect and to modify behaviors, even behaviors within themselves when it doesn't align. And I remember about 25 years ago, my first job was as a waitress. And I had a boss who was terrible, and she would treat all the staff terribly. And I remember telling myself back then, if I was ever a boss, I would never, ever treat my staff that way. And it's something that, went through as I was managing the different stores and as I was leading my teams. She would always be in the back of my mind in how terrible she treated staff. And it's really, really powerful. So, congruence, how are you showing up? And if you're not showing up in the ideal way, how do you show up a little bit better? And how do you get people on your team that hold similar values? So if you can ask yourself one question today, it's, if you could show up even more congruently in the workplace, what would that look like? And how would you encourage your team to do the same? The third C is connection. So in life, personally and professionally, there's nothing more important in connection. And whether it's with your partners, whether it's with your customers, whether it's with your friends, it's that one thing that can really change a situation and allow you to thrive. And connection is really important in allowing you to be as successful as you can be. And when you see staff members that are at their jobs for long periods of time, it's often some sort of connection that's kept them there. So, it's a really, really important skill in leadership to build that connection, to get to know your team and get to know, what makes them tick, what's important to them. And it's really that connection that allows them to thrive. It's that loyalty that you build over a period of time. So if you can create an even stronger connection with your team, what would you do today? Is there something that you would do a little bit differently? And then the last C is confidence. So that's having that trust within yourself to make the difficult decisions and lead your team through the good times, but also the times of uncertainty. It's that belief that you can figure it out even if the road isn't clear yet. So, it's the ability to go, what, team, this is my vision. These are my plans. I know things are going to change. I don't even know how we're going to get there, but let's go together on this journey and figure it out along the way. So, confidence is going, sometimes as a leader, I stuff up, and that's okay. So confidence is going, sometimes as a leader, I'm going to stuff it up, and that's okay. Confidence is going, sometimes I don't even know what the best next step is, but I'm going to do my best to get us to that next point anyway. And confidence is being the first to jump in and be courageous and teaching your team to do the same, even sometimes when you're scared. So if there's one question that you can ask yourself today around confidence, is if you can demonstrate even more confidence in just one area of your business, what would that be? What would you do? So that's a wrap for today's episode, my 4 C's on successful leadership and why I think those 4 words, competence, congruence, connection, and confidence, it's a bit of a tongue twister, are all important, and how I think they help us move forward in being the best leader that we can be. So if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to download yourself a copy of my free ebook, The Visionary Leaders Playbook, on the link below, and stay tuned for next week's episode, where we'll be talking leadership again and where I will be chatting to you about 7 ways to empower both yourself and your team. Until next time, live a successful, purposeful, and fully charged life. Your coach,